All right, Rayna, we are live on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. So, good evening, everyone. Bishkek American Center is welcoming you. Thank you very much for joining our evening live. And we are very excited and very happy to continue our virtual US State Tours program. And today we are going to visit Arizona State. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Rayna Farnsworth. She has worked as a diplomat with the U.S. Department of State for nearly 10 years and has served in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Albania. Prior to joining the State Department, Rayna worked as a Peace Corps volunteer in Taraz, Kazakhstan. She will make a presentation about Arizona State today, and we are very excited to learn more about this state because I think that every state has its own unique atmosphere, and Arizona is not an exception. Dear friends, of course, you have an opportunity to ask your questions during the live, and please type them in the comment section. And after the presentation, Reina will answer them. Now I'd like to give a virtual floor to Reina.
Thanks very much, Ada, for that very kind introduction. So again, my name is Rayna Farnsworth. I'm here in Bishkek, and I've been here since October. I arrived right on Election Day, the 4th of October. So it was a very exciting welcome to Bishkek with the revolution that followed. I'm not working at the embassy yet. I will start my work with the embassy in June. Right now, I'm studying Kyrgyz. So I've been studying Kyrgyz since October, and I will finish my studies this summer. So I'm very glad to be here and very excited to share all that I know about the state of Arizona with you.
It's wonderful to have you today, Reina. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. So let me share the presentation, I guess. Yes, I will add.
All right. All right. So Arizona. Arizona is where I'm from. I went to school there. I went to high school there, and I went to university in Arizona. So I'm, as I said before, I'm very excited to share this state with you, which is one of the most beautiful states, in my opinion, in the United States, and one of the most exciting. Arizona has a lot of very different climates, very different natural beauties. And so I really think that if you ever get the chance, Arizona is one of the places that you would not regret visiting when you go to the United States. History of Arizona, some brief facts about what the state is like. First of all, the state is the 48th state in the Union. It was entered into the Union in 1912 on Valentine's Day in 1912. But before that, it actually had belonged to Mexico. It was actually returned or given to the United States after the Mexican-American War in 1848. But even before that, Arizona has been actually inhabited for a long, long time. There are human habitations in Arizona that date back to 20,000 years ago. And so there has been a long, long history in Arizona of people living there. In the 1500s, there were a lot of Spanish explorers that came to Arizona who were looking for gold, for wealth, for glory. And then it belonged to Mexico, as I mentioned. It was the 48th state and the last state in the lower 48, the 48 contiguous states to enter into the Union. And then it was followed by Alaska and Hawaii. You can see the flag here. It's on the right-hand corner. You'll notice right away it looks kind of like a sunset. And that was the idea of the flag. Arizona has some of the most beautiful sunsets in the world. And so the red and yellow stripes sort of represent the sunrise or the sunset. And it has 13 of those stripes to represent the first 13 colonies in the United States. And the star in the middle is copper colored. And that's because that Arizona is one of the largest copper producing states in the United States and one of the largest copper producing areas in the entire world. Arizona has a population of about 7.2 million people, and its largest cities are Phoenix and Tucson. You may have heard of those. But a lot of people live in rural areas as well. And I'll talk a little bit about my own hometown, which is in a rural area, at the end of the presentation. Moving on to sort of the geography of Arizona. Arizona is located in the very southwest corner of the US. It's right next to California, right next to New Mexico, and it borders Mexico. It's also a very diverse state, as I mentioned before, with regards to climate. There are lots of mountains in Arizona. You'll see the northern part of Arizona has some very interesting geological features, including the Grand Canyon, which I assume most of you have heard of. It's one of the most famous places in Arizona. And it's surrounded by a lot of mountains of very, very high plateaus. And so people are surprised when I mention that in Arizona, we get snow as well. We have ski resorts in Arizona. And that's because we have some of these very high mountains, what are known as high desert, where we get a lot of snow. And then we have pine trees and forests and a lot of really beautiful, interesting nature that people don't generally expect in Arizona. And in the South, of course, is sort of the climate that most people associate with Arizona, the desert, and lots of rocky plains, cacti. So there's a lot of geographical and geological diversity in Arizona, which makes it a really fascinating state. Moving on to the nature in Arizona. You can see here, I've just given you a picture of what it sort of looks like in the high desert. So you see mountains with some snow on them, pine trees, lakes. So this is Arizona. This is where near where my hometown is. And so you can see it doesn't look like the typical Arizona that you would naturally picture. Arizona has a lot of diverse wildlife. I've got some pictures in the next slide for you that includes, all the desert animals you usually expect or associate with Arizona. Coyotes, javelinas, which are like wild pigs, rattlesnakes, scorpions, tarantulas. But in that high desert, in that place where there's lots of pine trees and forests, we also have animals like bears and elk and deer. Actually, the picture of the elk that you see there right in the middle, the black and white picture, was taken in my backyard. So we get a lot of these interesting animals that are right around us. And having nature so close is one of the really awesome things about living in a very small town. Arizona also has a ton of national parks and national monuments. Some of the most famous ones are, like I already mentioned, the Grand Canyon. There's also Saguaro, Oregon Pipe, the Painted Desert, which has beautiful colors, the Petrified Forest, which has examples of petrified wood, petrified plant, and petrified animals that have been there for millions of years. So it's a real incredible amount of diversity that we have in Arizona. The Sonoran Desert, which is in the south of the state, is the only place in the world where the saguaro cactus grows. And the saguaro cactus is that cactus that you typically see on cartoons about the desert. It's the one that sort of stands up and it's got the two arms like that. That's a saguaro cactus. So people typically see that in Western movies, in cartoons. And it's very interesting that Arizona and Mexico in the Sonoran Desert area is the only place in the world that particular cactus grows. So the next time that you're watching our cartoon or a movie and you see that cactus, you'll say, I know where that's from. I know that's Arizona. Another interesting fact about that cactus is that because it grows in a desert, it grows incredibly slowly. So one arm or one sort of part of that cactus could take as much as 100 years to grow, which just shows you how precious water is in the desert, and how plants really have used all their abilities to be able to survive in that kind of very harsh climate. Moving on, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is the Grand Canyon, of course, the thing that most people have heard about in regards to Arizona. Grand Canyon is by far Arizona's most popular national park, and it's the second most popular park in the US. There's about 5 million people that visit this park every year. So it's always visited by people not only from Arizona and not only from the US, but people from all around the world come to the Grand Canyon to see it, because it's just such an amazing sight. So big. It's over 270 miles long. It has completely just amazing views of this incredible natural landscape. And it was made over millions and millions of years, over 6 million years. And it was just made because the Colorado River has eroded and worn away the rock that surrounds it. And so this incredible canyon is what remains after that rock was eroded. And humans have actually been living there for the past 12,000 years or so. And you can see when you visit the Grand Canyon some of that evidence of human habitation. And there are still a number of Native American tribes who call that Grand Canyon area home. So it's one of the coolest things about our state and one of the most beautiful areas in our state. One of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and the only one that's located in the United States. Next, I wanted to talk to you a bit about what our economy is like. Basically, Arizona used to be based very heavily on copper mining. As I mentioned before, it's one of the states that produces the most copper. We also do some silver and gold mining. Of course, given the climate and the warm climate, there's a lot of farming that goes on. Many of the fruits and vegetables that are produced in the US are produced in Arizona. And then tourism is a big one as well. Nowadays, Arizona has a lot of manufacturing, transportation, and then government service, which is the basis of our economy. Arizona has 2 really major universities, and that's Arizona State University, which is pictured on the upper left side, and then the University of Arizona, which is pictured on the lower right side. These 2 universities are big rivals. So ASU, Arizona State University, is in Phoenix, and University of Arizona is in Tucson. And there's a big rivalry between them. You know, their football teams always have games together, and it's always a big deal who wins and who loses. So I went to the University of Arizona, so I'm a proud Wildcat, and I have the obligation to fight, of course, anyone who went to Arizona State University. So that's a joke. Moving on, I'll talk a little bit about one of the things that I think is really neat about Arizona, and that's Arizona's place in astronomy. Now, astronomy is something that's not usually associated with sort of when you think of Arizona right away, but there have been some very interesting astronomical discoveries in Arizona. The telescope you see pictured on the lower left side there is Kitt Peak Observatory. That's located near Tucson, Arizona, where University of Arizona is. And there have been some really interesting discoveries there. It's been used to view galaxies that are billions of light years away. It has the largest collection of optical telescopes and one of the largest solar telescopes there. And then the person pictured to the right of that is Clyde Tombaugh, and he is the person in the 1930s who discovered Pluto. And Pluto back then, of course, was a planet. It's not a planet anymore, but that was still a very exciting and very important discovery that happened in Arizona. Now, above that, you'll see a huge crater. That crater is Meteor Crater, and that's located in Arizona. And it's a huge reminder of the power of meteors. It was formed when a meteor crashed into Earth millions of years ago. And it's been preserved because of the arid landscape. There's nothing, no rain, no snow to speak about to erode it. And so it's remained as it was for a long time. And there's a visitor center now that you can go and actually see inside of this meteor. So that's one of the just neat things about Arizona, is that there are these really cool places, and that there's a lot of science to be discovered. And it's something that I really enjoyed when I was a university student, is learning about this astronomy. Okay. Next, I'd like to talk to you a bit about Native Americans that live in Arizona. I think many of the state presentations that you guys have listened to have talked about the role of Native Americans in states, and Arizona is, of course, no exception to that. We have over 22 Native American tribes who call Arizona home, and they've had a long history in Arizona, of course. As I mentioned before, Arizona has been inhabited for the last 12,000 years. And before Western settlers came in, before the Spanish came, Native Americans were the ones primarily living here. And so some of the largest Native American reservations, you'll see pictured there, is the Navajo Reservation. That's the largest Native American reservation in America. And then the Hodouam, which is in the southern part of Arizona. That's the second largest Native American reservation in the US. And so nowadays, I think people are very interested in learning more about the Native American cultures and the very different Native American cultures that are in Arizona. There are many Native American sites, ancient pueblos, artwork, pottery, etc., that have been preserved, that people are interested to see, that are and that I think Native Americans themselves are very interested in preserving. And then, of course, in the modern day, they continue to pursue their traditions. Navajo weaving, for example, there's a picture here. There are some Navajo weavers. So the artistry and handicrafts that they continue are part of the things that really make Arizona an interesting state, and something that we can be extremely proud of. I'll talk a little bit now about history and the place that Arizona has played in U.S. history. Arizona is considered to be, the Wild West, right? I think we all have that in the popular imagination. Arizona comes to mind as a typical place where there were a lot of outlaws, a lot of cowboys, a lot of shootouts, and it's maintained that mythology, I think, to the present day. There are still a lot of towns, especially in the south of Arizona, that sort of try to preserve that cultural heritage as being, sort of a cowboy town or a place that is sort of an outlaw refuge. You can see that on the picture on the upper right-hand side is a picture from the OK Corral. There have been a number of movies made about what happened at the OK Corral, but essentially there was a huge shootout in the 1800s that resulted in several people being killed, and it's one of the most famous shootouts that we've had in Arizona. Wyatt Earp, of course, a big famous name that took part in that particular shootout. Arizona's history is also a history of Western and frontier expansionism. And in addition to sort of the feel-good stories about cowboys, there are also some very sobering stories about Native Americans and how they were treated. You can see the picture on the bottom left-hand side is a picture of Geronimo, who is the leader of the Apache tribe. And because of continuing Western and settler encroachment, he and his struggle with those encroachers, he was actually forced to surrender in Arizona. And that happened not only in Arizona, but in many different states throughout the United States. And then Arizona is also a story of taming the elements, right? Arizona, of course, in the South, where it's heavily populated, is not generally a place where people are supposed to live. Phoenix and Tucson are places that are extremely hot in the summer. There are deserts, and so there's not a lot of water to be found there. And so in the West, a lot of the expansion and a lot of the population growth has been made possible because we have been able to dam a lot of the rivers. And what you see here is a dam on Hoover River that's between Nevada and Arizona. And that dam provides water and power for many of the southern states, California and Arizona, New Mexico, California, Las Vegas. And so being able to do that has really, and that sort of industrial programming has really helped Arizona to be able to develop as a state and develop the population that it has today. As far as pop culture, we have a number of celebrities that are from Arizona. Emma Stone, of course. Joe Jonas was born in Arizona. And then Stephanie Meyer, who is the author of Twilight, is also from Arizona. And Arizona, I think, is also in one of her books, though don't quote me on that. What you see, the black and white picture you see behind them is a picture of the first McDonald's drive-through. That happened in Arizona. It was actually because there was a McDonald's near an army base, and they decided that it was taking too much time for the soldiers to go into McDonald's and pick up their hamburger and to leave. So they decided to build the first drive-through. So you can credit Arizona with building the first McDonald's drive-through in the 1970s. So big claim to fame there. And finally, I wanted to show you just a little bit about where I am from. I'm from a very small town called Eagar, and it is in the eastern part of the state, right by the border with New Mexico. It's a really small town. It has about 5,000 people, but it's surrounded by lots of very beautiful nature. It has a lot of national parks right around it. It has a lot of, as you saw, animals that live around there, beautiful forests. You'll see a picture of my family at the upper right-hand side. So it's a really interesting place to grow up. Again, very small town, so if we wanted to go to the movies, for example, it was an hour drive away to go to the movies. We only have one stoplight in town. So it's kind of a rural existence. Most people there get by with farming and other sort of rural occupations. There's a power plant that most people work at there. But it was a very interesting place to grow up. So I have a video here, which is about 3 minutes long, that should give you sort of a flavor of what the town is like. It explains a little bit about the town and the things that are around it. So I'll let Aida play that for you guys.
Springerville is a great place for a vacation, but once you've visited, you may not want to leave. It's also a wonderful place to retire, and many people find it a great place to work, far away from the mad city scramble. And artists find it to be a supportive and welcoming community. Springerville's location at the junction of US 60 and State Highways 180 and 191, combined with nearby airport facilities, make it easily accessible. A stable and well-trained workforce makes Springerville an ideal location for small businesses wishing to capitalize on the get-it-done work ethic that's becoming a hallmark of rural communities. The town is almost equidistant from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Phoenix, Arizona. It's considered part of Apache County's Round Valley. The town is bordered by the town of Eagar on the south. West of Springerville is also the town of Greer, Sunrise Ski Resort, and the resort towns of Pinetop Lakeside and Sholo. Springerville lies at the juncture between the high pines and the high desert. Surrounding Springerville are multiple natural resources and tourist attractions. The Becker Lake State Wildlife Area, Nelson Reservoir, Big Lake and Lyman Lake State Park are all within a half-hour drive of town. The 10,912-foot Escadilla Mountains and many peaks over 9,000 feet are located to the south. Cultural resources, such as Casa Malapai, are also in the immediate vicinity. The climate is great, with all 4 seasons, yet it never gets too cold or too hot. The temperature seldom dips below 20 in the winter, and hardly ever gets above 90 in the summer. Fall has the beautiful colors, and spring brings all the new growth. Springerville has everything for a great lifestyle. A full-service modern hospital in the center of town, a great K-12 school with an indoor dome for sports and other activities, including the annual Chrome in the Dome event. A community college serves our local community and supports all your educational needs. An airport with a brand new terminal and 2 runways that will support light and medium aircraft. And there are great museums and art galleries with major grocery stores and retail shopping of all kinds. And of course, the outdoor lifestyle that only the White Mountains can offer. If you would like to locate your business in Springerville, there are over 550 acres of developable land for aviation and light industrial facilities surrounding the airport. Whether it's for business, pleasure, or retirement, Springerville has everything you need for a great lifestyle. Anytime is a good time to come to the gateway of the White Mountains, Springerville. There are over 40 lakes nearby and 600 miles of streams, amazing landscapes, lush forests that are great for hiking or mountain biking or off-road adventure, campgrounds for any type of enthusiast, whether you love the rustic feel of a tent or the luxurious feel of a motorhome, blue ribbon trout fishing, water skiing, all types of hunting, and scenic drives that are beyond compare. Places to stay that are historic and charming, restaurants and nightlife for any age. And best of all, it is beautiful all year round. Summer has great weather and lots of activities. The colors of fall are amazing. Winter has skiing, sledding, or just watching it snow. In the spring, we see the rebirth of the land. So now is the time to plan your Springerville getaway. Don't delay. Do it now.
All right, so I hope I convinced you all to visit Arizona. And now I guess can open up for questions.
Thank you very much, Rayna, for the amazing presentation. And it's beautiful city. I think it's very green. It's
Very
absolutely
green.
lovely city. Thank you very much. And yes, we received a lot of questions. Let me read it one by one. The first question is, thank you, Rayna, for the wonderful presentation. So much diversity and places to explore. What's your favorite little-known place to escape? In Arizona.
That's a good question. I think one of the most interesting places or the most beautiful places that maybe a lot of people have not heard of is a place called Sedona, Arizona. Sedona, Arizona is located kind of in the center of Arizona, and it has beautiful red rocks. So it has just gorgeous hills. It's kind of looks like southern Utah. It kind of has that same landscape, just beautiful red rocks and surrounded by a lot of trees. So it's a really beautiful place. And it's also very interesting. There are a lot of very interesting people who live there. It's kind of a hippie community. And so there are a lot of people there who want to be closer to nature. And so it's a cool place to go. Lots of things to do outdoors. And that would be one of my favorite places, besides my hometown.
Great. Thank you, Rayna, for your answer. The next question. Hello, Rayna. Thank you for interesting presentation. I would like to know about fun facts about Arizona. Please tell us some of them.
Okay. Let's see. So another fun fact that I didn't include in my presentation is that Arizona has the London Bridge. You guys may or may not have heard the song "London Bridge is falling down, falling down." But we have that London Bridge. It's in Arizona.
Wow.
I don't remember the story exactly or what year it was, but there was a very rich person in Arizona who decided when in London they were tearing down the London Bridge that he wanted to buy it. And so he actually transported the bridge brick by brick from London to Arizona, and he rebuilt it. So if you visit Arizona, you can actually visit the London Bridge.
From London, bricks.
Mhm.
Wow, amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Rayna, for sharing this. The next question, does Arizona have 4 seasons? I heard that Phoenix is the hottest city in the United States.
Yes, it's true that Phoenix is
Phoenix.
one of, I don't know if it is the hottest city in the United States, but it is certainly one of the hottest states, our cities in Arizona. Temperatures there in the summertime can be 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's really hot, really hot. Like you go outside, and if you don't have shoes on, you will burn your feet. It's a place where you can literally fry eggs on a sidewalk. It's so hot. So yeah, it's Phoenix and Tucson, which are in the desert, have 4 seasons. They just maybe aren't as noticeable as they are in the northern part of the state. So where I'm from, in the northern part of the state, we definitely have 4 seasons, right? We get snow in the winter. We have spring where it thaws out, summer, which is beautiful, and fall. So it's a place with 4 visible seasons, kind of like we have here in Kyrgyzstan. But in the south, in the desert, it kind of all looks a bit the same.
Yes, I mean, during this video, I observed that, each season was presented there, and they absolutely, yes, beautiful. Thank you, Reina. What are other popular nicknames of the state Arizona?
Oh, that's a good question. The motto or the nickname of Arizona is the Grand Canyon State, and it's probably very obvious why it's the place with the Grand Canyon. But yeah, that's the only other nickname I would say that I've heard of for Arizona.
I didn't know that Grand Canyon is located in Arizona.
Oh wow!
Because I mean, we know Grand Canyon, but I didn't know where. It's
Where it
located.
was? Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Reina. Hello, Reina. Thanks for the presentation. And I have a question. What was your favorite place in Arizona when you were a child? Thank you in advance.
Oh, of course. Let's see. So when I was a child, my grandmother lived in Tucson, Arizona, which is in the south. And there are a lot of very small towns around and close by Tucson. And some of the towns are old mining towns. So they are places where there used to be a lot of copper that was mined, a lot of gold or silver that was mined, but now that mining has basically shut down, and what they basically are is ghost towns. And so those are really fun and interesting towns to visit, and those are places I really enjoyed visiting as a child because there's just so much history there. And it was so cool to me to see old mines and old mine shafts and how people used to work there, and to see sort of towns that were preserved as they were 150 years ago, to see how people actually lived back then. It must have been a very difficult life if you were working in a mine and living in the hot desert every day. it just is incredible to me that people would actually do that. It was, as a child, it was a fascinating place to visit.
Great. Thank you, Rayna. The next question is, what does mean corner state? Is Arizona part of it?
I think they're referring to Arizona being a four-corner state. And so in the presentation that I showed you sort of a picture of Arizona as it relates to the lower 48. And so Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico all meet in a place called the Four Corners. And that's a place where all four states touch each other. And it's an actual place where you can visit in Arizona. And so you can go there and put your foot on the corner of all these four states, which is a really cool thing to do. And if you're very flexible, I guess you could put a foot in two states and a hand in two states and pretend you were in all four states at the same time. But that's, that's a cool thing that you can do in Arizona too.
So interesting. Just you can say that you were in 4 states?
Exactly, at the same time.
Wow. Great. Thank you, Rayna. The next question. I have loved our travels in Arizona as a kid and an adult. Do you miss any Arizona foods?
Oh, gosh, this is going to make me really miss Arizona foods. Let's see. I've been living outside of America for a long time. But the thing you're always generally able to find, no matter where you are, you're usually able to find Chinese food or Indian food, sometimes Japanese food. But it's very hard to find Mexican food. And it's very hard to find Mexican food that is like how they make it in Arizona or New Mexico or Texas. So those are the foods that I really miss. They're one of my favorite things to eat, and it's not very good for you, but it's called a chimichanga. And it's basically like a deep fried burrito, and it's so delicious. Those are some of the things that I really miss. But I have to make them myself in Bishkek if I want them.
Oh yes. The Mexican food is your favorite.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think people that live abroad miss most of all, because it's just hard to find outside of America.
Great. Thank you very much, Rayna. It's a very interesting question. Is it true that Arizona State has cactus cutting ban?
So I'm not sure if this applies to all cactuses, but I do know it is illegal to cut down saguaro cactuses. So you can be fined or face jail time if you actually cut down a saguaro cactus. Again, because as I mentioned before, growing just at one arm of that cactus takes 100 years, and it's they're protected. They're in a national park. They're a protected species. So yeah, it's true that I think people are always interested, wouldn't it be cool if I could take a cactus home with me and throw it in my backyard? But cactuses are adapted to a very specific climate, and they generally don't do well outside of that climate. So yeah, it's highly illegal, at least to cut down saguaro cactuses.
It seems like it's very unique symbol of Arizona State.
Yes. That it is, for sure. We use it in all our tourism marketing campaigns.
Thank you, Rayna. The next question, what does mean state neckwear? What is Arizona State's neckwear?
Oh, okay. So neckwear is something you wear on your neck, like a bow tie or a tie. And Arizona's state neckwear, I'm not sure why we have a state neckwear, why that's a thing, but our state neckwear is called a bolo tie. And essentially it's like a cowboy bow tie. What it is essentially like a cord, and it has a little pendant, kind of like the strings I have right here, and it has a pendant that goes up like this. So that's called a bolo tie, and that is our official state neckwear for some reason.
That's interesting. Thank
I
you.
don't know if other states have an official neckwear, but Arizona does.
And it's unique.
It is very unique.
What are popular sports in Arizona?
Good question. So I think, like all American states, American football is very popular. All right, most of the universities have a football team, which is very popular. We have a state football team. Baseball is also a popular sport there. Let's see. There's car racing, which is popular. But there's also things that are not usually done in other states, such as rodeos. Right, so in small towns and even in large cities, there are annual rodeos, and perhaps this has been discussed in your other conversations about other states. But Arizona as well has a lot of rodeos with games on horses, with bulls, with sheep, rounding up sheep or riding on bulls and whatnot. And those, especially in my hometown, are extremely popular sports and something that a lot of kids are engaged in, which is something that is unique, I think, to Arizona and a lot of the southern states.
I see. Thank you very much, Rayna. And I can guess that camping is also very popular in Arizona.
Camping is also very, very popular. Yeah, there's a lot of really great places to camp in Arizona that are just, really just not far away at all. So yeah, it's a very popular. Hiking and camping are really big.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rayna. We don't have the questions for now. I think people watch it later and will ask the questions. But I would like to say thank you to you. It was really wonderful session, interesting, and a lot of unique facts we learned about Arizona. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Of
And
course,
also
my pleasure.
want to say thank you to our viewers who sent us their questions and comments. Thank you for your active participation. And now it's time to close up our session. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Oi, not day, night. And see you in our next sessions. Bye bye, everyone. Stay healthy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rayna.